Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the World Cyber Arena Hearthstone Pro Qualifier Final. My name is Oz McCready, once again joined by Frodan, and we just saw Amaz take out Chalky in a pretty intense best-of-5 matchup. What'd you think of that?
Well, I enjoyed the back-and-forth nature of it. I'm happy Amaz was able to do well. You know, I really like seeing players who are able to justify both their popularity and skill. Sometimes it's, one or the other. And this is again shows that Amaz is still a top-level player, and he's continued to improve a lot since dedicating himself to his team. A lot of people worry about how responsibilities end up dropping off, right? Just look at other teams and organizations throughout the entire industry. A lot of the owners who are also players had to eventually make a choice, one or the other. And Amaz is definitely still a high-level player here as he goes on to guarantee him a spot in WCA, but he'll be also playing the winner of Firebat versus Zalae, which is coming up here on stream. Yeah,
so we're guaranteed an all-Archon final. It's actually pretty likely that that would happen since 3 out of the 4 players are from Team Archon, but they will be sending 2 players to that World Cyber Arena final.
Ooh, always lucky, rubber ducky.
Yeah, you can see Zalae there on your screen. Talk a little bit about Zalae. He's been streaming a lot lately, and he's been playing a whole lot of Patron Warrior.
It's his favorite deck.
Yeah.
Zalae, everyone knows Zalae loves to play Patron Warrior. I mean, it might be as far removed as like Firebat. As soon as he sees Patron Warrior get into a favorable position, it's like Firebat's also one of those players who just might concede because it's like, okay, fine, you win, whatever, just let it move on, and I'll beat your other 2 decks. Yeah. Of course, one of those scenarios where Patron Warrior can sometimes beat itself. You can draw a lot of the really heavy combo cards, like you can draw a Warsong Commander, like Gromosh, and you can get like a Whirlwind, and then like do nothing for a long time. So part of the challenge is that you have to make sure it lines up, but most of the time it's just so dynamic and robust that Patron Warrior can handle anything. And you see Zalae be able to climb to #1 Legend, and I think he was #2 EU simultaneously. Like he was absolutely dominating ladder the last few days. Unfortunately, he finished I think only top 10 somewhere around there. But still, like a really good accomplishment, and he's been absolutely dominating with the deck.
Yeah, we actually had a chance to sit down and talk with Zalae a little bit the other day about World Cyber Arena and, of course, about his time with competitive Hearthstone. So let's see what he had to say.
I'm Zalae from Team Archon, playing Hearthstone for about 9 months. Winning this tournament would mean I get to go to China, which would be an amazing experience, and also it's a lot of money, which is good stuff. I like money. My opponents this week are very tough because most of them are my teammates who are obviously the best. And then there's Chalky, who I really want to crush because he beat me at my last ESL event. I'm a newer player to the competitive Hearthstone scene, but I'm not new to competing. Like I've been a tournament player at one game or another since I was 10 years old. So joining Archon was a big step up for me in the Hearthstone scene. It's been a lot of fun for me. I was so happy that Amaz and Firebat qualified for this tournament with me. I was hoping that Archon boys could get the clean sweep, all 4 in this event, but 3 out of 4 is really good. Normally we prepare together, but in this case, since we're 75% of the field, it doesn't really make sense to collaborate that much. Right, my preparation for this tournament was I played some Hearthstone while streaming on Twitch, and that was about it. So hopefully I beat Chalky. Whether I beat my teammates or not, it's honestly not that important to me. The important thing is I got to get revenge against Chalky.
You know what, Zalae? I like money too. Wise words from the guy there.
Sure, makes sense.
He's a great player though. He's only recently started to increase in popularity. He started off making his way through open tournaments, and when he got picked up by Archon, his popularity started to increase quite a bit. But Firebat, the guy on your screen there, the world champion, the 2014 BlizzCon Hearthstone world champion. And he's got quite a bit of BlizzCon points as well, so he's going to have a chance to defend his title once again this year, at the end of the year, most likely. So what's Firebat been playing lately?
Let's see. Firebat's also been playing a lot of Patron Warrior. The thing about Firebat is that he's capable of playing any deck at a very high proficient level. He's well known to be extremely scientific in his approach to Hearthstone, but even more so, people underrate his technical ability. And even beyond his technical ability, people underrate his deck building too. They just kind of see Firebat as like a good player who can understand matchups and lineup preparation. That could be his strategy, but Firebat's also one of the best technical players you'll see for a long time because he understands tempo very effectively because he's played it so many times. He's also very emphatic about what's right and wrong, though, and that could be some of his weaknesses, depending on how you interpret it. But the one thing is that no matter what, if he loses, he goes back to the grind, he goes back to the drawing board, and he comes out stronger than ever.
All right. Well, we are going to jump into the first game here of this second match of the day. It's going to be Hunter versus Hunter right off the bat. And all 4 players, as we can see now, did bring Hunter. So that was the one class that was a staple across every player. We have a couple decks that 3 players brought, but Hunter is the only one that all 4 players brought. And we saw the decks there for a moment, and Firebat actually brought Rogue, and he was revealing his deck list earlier, and or his deck choices, his class choices. Everybody was kind of curious. They're like, Rogue? Why would you bring Rogue?
Yeah, so Firebat loves Rogue. It's one of his favorite classes. It's my favorite class as well. I think Rogue is so interesting and fun to play. And Firebat picks up a 1-drop off the top of his deck. That was so big because Zalae naturally will retaliate if his opponent didn't have a 1-drop with 2 1-drops, and then from that point on, you're fighting back on the board constantly while taking damage, at best going 1-for-1 with those minions. So this was already a huge step for Firebat, especially if it comes down to a race war. Going first gives you the more mana advantage. You can hit your charges first. You can hit the hero power additional time before your opponent. That's huge.
Yeah. Imagine if he didn't get that 1-drop there, like you said. He would have been facing with a 1-drop coin 1-drop. He would have spent the entire game catching up. Unless he had like a clutch turn where he could like unleash to kill the board or knife juggler unleash. But by turn 5, especially in not sure if it's face hunter versus face hunter or hybrid hunter versus face hunter or vice versa.
Hybrid.
Yeah.
The Mad Scientist was a way for him to potentially climb back. If you fell too far behind, you could hope for Explosive Trap. But even then, he'd have to make the trade. His opponent would be hitting the face, and he'd be a little bit in trouble. The question is, does Firebat attack or trade here? And he ends up going for the trade and ends up starting the game from 28 life apiece.
People might criticize this matchup a little bit, saying, oh, well, it's just like 2 players going face. But this is actually one of the more intricate mirror matchups because a lot of times it does come down to like single points of damage, whether or not you were as efficient with every single point of damage. Because usually you will kill your opponent when they can kill you the next turn. Like one turn before they're about to kill you, you piece together the damage to kill them. So if you make one inefficient play throughout the game, sometimes that can be the difference. And so a lot of times, even though it's a lot of going face in this matchup, players will take their time making sure they think through every turn.
Yep. Just
because of how volatile the matchup can be.
Yeah, exactly. And that was a really heads-up play on both ends. Firebat plays around Glaive Zuka, and this juggle lands on the face instead. But the thing about what Firebat did was he traded because he was playing around Glaive Zuka, and then Zalae recognized that and instead attacked with the Worgen Infiltrator first to get the damage, and then attack with the Glaive Zuka weapon to kill the Mad Scientist. So both players are on point right now. Now is the question, what trap is this? Is it Freezing Trap? Is it Explosive Trap? If it's Explosive Trap, you go for the trade on the Knife Juggler easy, and then you play the weapon, and then you play the Wolf Rider. But if this is Freezing Trap, this play will also be extremely effective because it bounces the Charger back to your hand, and Freezing Trap got almost no value.
Yeah. And you know that it's going to do 3 damage to you regardless, so having that board is... you're going to have to deal with it with 3 damage regardless, so having the board is better in this situation. Having 2 weapons in his hand, especially both Glaive Zukas...
It's pretty poor.
Yeah.
But at least he still has the hero power that kind of did something. It's kind of like as if he played a 2-mana 2 damage card.
But now the initiative is almost completely in Zalae's favor here because he's got card advantage, which doesn't mean too much, but it means he has more options in order to be efficient.
Right. So the Wolf Rider, Worgen Infiltrator here seems to be the most damage.
Yeah.
This turn.
It's all about efficient amounts of damage to the face.
And Firebat doesn't have Explosive Trap. He's got Unleash the Hounds, though.
Hey.
And he's going to have to use it to at least kill off the Wolf Rider because he can't afford to race. But he can start keeping board presence, and he does have Kill Command. And now he can keep his Glaivezuka as a surprise for the second buff, and then make his own Worgen Infiltrator. But this Knife Juggler could be so significant.
Yeah. When you start running out of cards like this, it's more important to weave in your hero power than it is to like get out your damage faster. Especially with Glaivezuka there. If he had played Glaivezuka over the hero power, he would have not been able. He would have been able to utilize the extra 1 damage, but he'd start running out of cards to be able to effectively do his damage from his hand.
That damage really stings. Firebat's not happy about that one. Freezing Trap's not effective, considering that in order to get it to work, he would have to corner this the Knife Juggler, which still can just sit there and do damage.
This is rough. I mean, he might even have to just kill command the Knife Juggler because it represents so much damage, and he can't afford to take too much.
I think he might also calculate how much damage can he do if he races over 2 turns. Glaivezuka's 4, kill command is 3, hero power is 2, so that's 9 damage over 2 turns. Oh wait, no, you can hero power again, so that's 11 damage. If he gets an Arcane Golem, he might be able to win. So I would imagine he freezing traps, hero powers, and hits the face here.
Yeah, or Huffer.
Or Huffer. So there are a possible combination of outs. Or he might get a Charger piece with kill command. No, I don't think that matters. This is it.
Yeah.
Oh, is that lethal?
5, 6.
Yes,
it is.
That should be, I think.
Yeah.
It's a kill command first before the beast bounces back in his hand.
Oh yeah, I forgot about the freezing trap.
Right.
Okay.
Also, Zalae has to be careful because of you know, the fact that it could be explosive. But
I think regardless if it's explosive, kill command is the right play.
Right.
Because you want to get the damage in while you can. You're not guaranteed to be able to have the mana to play a beast from hand and still kill him. But it is going to do it. Zalae is going to take game number 1.
Right, and that curve from Zalae was just so powerful. Having the extra coin, or the extra minion because of the coin, was definitely his ability to snowball up the board because he can pick off the trades easier and then leverage it for his chargers. Firebat drawing both of his freezing traps, not entirely useful. He'd rather that be quick shot or something else to remove the Knife Juggler. Stay above a certain threshold of health so that way he can guarantee try to go for the kill. And unfortunately, it seems like Zalae got the better end of those draws.
Yeah, both players played really well though, but of course mirror matchups are the most susceptible, especially since those guys' decks looked nearly identical. I don't really see much of a difference. So
I mean, these guys are teammates. One thing to consider is their preparation and the list that they think is optimal could be shared as a sentiment across the team.
Yeah, we just want to remind you guys, make sure you follow us on Twitter at WCA America. Make sure you're also using the hashtag WCA 2015. Let us know what you guys think of these matches, who you're rooting for to come out on top, and who you're rooting for to make it far in China. If you're an Archon fan, you're probably pretty happy with the results so far today.
Yeah, you know, Archon has done well. They won their match, their first game, and now they're guaranteed to go into the finals here with Archon Zalae versus Archon Firebat. I think Firebat would probably want to win like really badly, just because of the idea of getting another chance to win $100,000. But at the same time, it's like this is a win that Zalae would probably need to cement his legacy within the team, because I think there's a running joke that Zalae's the worst player on Archon. Within the team, sorry.
Okay.
There's a running joke internal to the team that Zalae's like the worst player, and that Purple, he cares about not necessarily being better than like Firebat and Stixo, but to be not the worst.
Not the worst.
So the race is always between Zalae and Purple, between the, quote, worst player on Archon. I guess you could say the least threatening player on Archon, if you want to call that. And there's always like this, you know, like competition. And, you know, even though you can take those jokes in full stride and be, you know, mature about it, that kind of stuff still irks you if you're a competitive player. It's like, I don't want to be like considered the worst on my team here. So Zalae is by no means the worst or weakest player in my book, but yeah, it's one of those things where he probably wants to prove it even to Firebat. And he's got some cool tech. He's got acidic swamp ooze ready for the rogue. This is already a tough matchup for Firebat, especially if he's anticipating Zoo.
The acidic swamp ooze, I've seen that actually quite often. It's such a good tech right now because of the popularity of Hunter as well as Patron Warrior. And rogues just sort of get caught in the crossfire a little bit. It's definitely not targeted at them. It just so happens that one in the 20 games that you end up playing a rogue. The Ooze just happens to be good against that class as well.
So Firebat actually really likes playing rogue here. I know some people share the feeling that rogue struggles against Handlock because there's just too many big threats and you have to spend, deadly poison, SI, eviscerate just to deal with like one big minion. But Firebat actually feels that rogue is favored against Handlock most of the time because of one reason, because of Blade Flurry.
Yeah.
He says you can sit on a weapon charge for a really long time and let your opponent build the board and then go for a big Blade Flurry turn and then clean up.
Yeah.
And he says from that fact that you can threaten it, Handlock can't do much because they don't have a finisher like a Leroy or any kind of faceless combinations. But Zalae has the answer to that. So he's got Firebat calculated and pinned so well that he's going to be saving this Acidic Swamp Ooze for the inevitable hold on the Blade Flurry.
Yeah. One of the arguments I hear some rogue players say too is that the damage that you'd otherwise be using as burn damage, like you said the backstab, eviscerate, and trade something in order to clear a big creature off the board, they're doing that damage to themselves by life tapping. So you need less damage usually to kill a Handlock anyway. So using that damage early on to stop their big threats can sometimes be a good thing, because you said they don't have win conditions. If you make it through a couple threats, sometimes they have turns where they're playing really weak stuff, like they tap and then play an Ancient Watcher, or they play a Sludge Belcher, and you could just like sap it and keep pushing through and then set up for those Blade Flurry turns. So
yeah,
I still think Handlock is favored, though. I don't agree with Firebat.
I'm of that belief as well, but most people do. When Firebat was explaining this at Divide game, a lot of players were like, no, dude. But that's the interesting thing, too. It depends on who you ask. Some people might give you insight or a specialty. He says all you have to do is know how to play the matchup. Zalae taps, and he gets to an Ancient Watcher, so now he's introduced with two choices. He doesn't have to play Sun Fury here. He can play the Ooze, or he can play the Watcher, but I think the Watcher is better because, again, the Ooze wants to sit and wait, camping for the optimal time to use the Ooze and disarm the weapon.
Yeah.
Hey, lights out.
Firebat's starting to accumulate a very scary hand. Next turn, he can coin sprint into prep something. And he's also got an Agidrake on board. This is not very comfortable at all from a position
Or
Zalae.
prep sprint into coin something.
It's true. Coin Shredder.
Yeah. But having
That might be better.
having the options in your hand is definitely key.
He also has like Thalnos into Flurry. The board gets too like full of smaller minions.
Yeah. If you're going to be going up against a Handlock, this is one of the hands to be able to do it. He was able to establish a board early on with creatures. He's still got a good mix of creatures plus the spells that he needs. He just needs something to be able to push through like a wall, like something else to buff his weapon with the Blade Flurry, or maybe like a sap. But like with the sprint, he's just got so many options.
I like to see a defender here. Okay, he ends up going for it. Yeah, just to use his mana. I don't know if he could get away with tap Sun Fury because of Phantom Knives. And this Blade Flurry will end up doing absolutely wonders. And he can develop the Pilot Shredder. That leads his opponent to play into Hellfire, and he'll reduce his health down to, well, at least 15 if he plays Hellfire. So if Firebat chooses to instead prep Sprint, because he has two preps now, he'll have a full hand. His opponent will feel like he baited to play a Hellfire, and he doesn't have to feel like he can attack either because of Molten Giants. But if he doesn't attack, his opponent might have Dark Bomb, and then Dark Bomb plus Sludge Belcher, and then all of a sudden he's really behind on board. So this is a tough choice that Firebat has, because he has a lot of selections here at his disposal.
Yeah. I think he was not necessarily thinking about, well, he thought about Prep Sprint for a second, but he thought about playing Blood Mage Thalnos, so that way he could fit in a Redagger. If he was planning on sprinting next turn, that way he could utilize the second prep to maybe oil up and be able to possibly go for a pretty big turn. Like if he prep sprinted into oil and South Sea Deckhand, there was a potential for him to have lethal if there was no taunt being put on the board. But he decides to go for this play instead. I think this play is a lot more consistent.
Yeah, this is the spot where Firebat says Rogue is really strong, right? Or even just any deck that pressures Handlock. Imagine if it was combo in the same scenario. If you put out a single threat like Molten Giant Taunt, it gets sapped. If you play Hellfire and then Giant, you don't have a taunt. If you play Antique Healbot, it's too passive, and you reduce yourself even further from Molten Giant, so he can load the board and then pick off, like, you can pick off your Antique Healbot. And of course, if you play Dr. Boom, you're in the same position as playing Molten Giant after clearing, where he does a lot of damage on board and you might die. Realistically, his best chance might be just to play Lotheb and then Sun Fury and just try to see where his opponent is and reduce the amount of spells he can play. Have a more impactful Hellfire where you can use Sun Fury maybe to clean up a little bit to help assist it, and then play Molten Giant the next turn.
Yeah. You always have to look, like you said with the combo, you always have to look at each creature like it has the potential to do 3 extra damage the next turn with oil. So
he goes for Ancient Watcher.
This is sort of middle of the road. This also allows him. He's not using the taunt this turn because he doesn't need to. Because with Lotheb effect, there's really not any way that he can kill him the next turn. And he puts Ancient Watcher out there so he can have a second bigger target to use taunt for the next turn.
Yeah, this is huge. A Lotheb shuts down the Shadow Flame play from this Ancient Watcher. That's what you're really afraid of. Zalae putting out his Ancient Watcher is almost like indicative of maybe he has the opportunity to Hellfire or Shadow Flame. I don't want him to AoE my board. So if I play Farseer, for example, and I pushed with like Thalnos, then I'd be in trouble. I think Lotheb's an easy play here. Just have to kind of think about what you want to do to follow up. Do you want to play Thalnos? Do you want to attack face-face? Because you have sprint. But I'd rather play, like, trade it to Lotheb so that way he doesn't, like, get 2 targets of taunt.
Yeah.
All right, so he ends up going for it. He's got sprint too, right? So sprint with 2 preps is so powerful. You could go into so many combinations. Attack makes sense too here because you're most likely going to get taunt. Like, you're basically going to invoke the Wrath of a taunt. Even though he won't Shadow Flame you, he's probably going to play a Molten Giant taunt. So you're probably not going to be able to attack into something and then flurry.
This is still a pretty big turn for Zalae. He's going to be able to play Molten Giant, Sun Fury Protector, and Antique Healbot, which seems to me like it's the best play that he could go for. Swamp Ooze right now doesn't really do much. The weapon's not buffed. It would make it so that he has to spend 2 mana to re-weapon the next turn.
Right.
But if he uses Ooze, then he wouldn't be able to fit in Antique Healbot, and I think getting the heal out is really important right now.
No, for sure. It absolutely is. And he ends up going for it. I think you can also feel free to pick off the SI7 agent here. Maybe even the opponent's Lotheb, so that way he doesn't get like an easy Blade Flurry, because there's a lot of like 3 health stuff, so if he Blade Flurries on like a deadly poison, then the Lotheb be able to trade into it.
Yeah, I think you can almost count that Lotheb as dead.
Yeah, we're not like Arena, right, where you have to pick up value.
Yeah.
I just want to let you know that Firebat has access to 15 mana this turn in terms of like the prep sprint, into a prep something, into a coin. If he uses it optimally.
Well, he doesn't have AoE.
Wait, he can easily pick up into Blade Flurry.
Yeah, but if he picks up into Blade Flurry, then he won't be able to use it. Well, he could coin. No, because he wouldn't be able to buff his weapon. He would have to prep Fan, be left with 4 mana. Or prep Fan, no, he'd be left with 5 mana. So he could Deadly Poison Blade Flurry and Eviscerate.
Well, he doesn't have the Blade Flurry right now.
Yeah, well, if he was trying to dig for the Blade Flurry with the Fan of Knives, is what I.
Right.
But that's unlikely. He still has, what, 10 cards remaining? Maybe even a couple more. He's already been through 1. It's 10% or less chance for him to draw into that, so you can't count on it. So he needs to be able to clear what he has in front of him.
Sure. Eviscerating this seems to make sense. He also can Thalnos prep Fan and Eviscerate. Okay, well, this also makes sense, too, if he wants to prep Fan afterward.
Or tank damage.
Oh, he's tanking the damage. Whoa!
Bold!
That is really bold. Oh, wait. The owl can't attack. My bad. I thought it could attack for some reason this turn. It dropped off the Pilot Shredder.
How OP would an owl be if it silenced and had charge? I played in every deck.
Pretty balanced.
Every deck.
I think Face Hunter would get marginally better. Just silence the Sludge Belcher and charge.
Yeah.
Gosh. Way too strong.
I mean, nightmares just thinking about it. Well,
I mean, while you're at it, I mean, Iron Beak Owl should just summon 2 Boombots.
in a War Golem.
Summon a 7/7 on each side. Zalae is Sludge Belcher, which is pretty impactful, but again, he's worried about the sap possibility. I think you feel somewhat comfortable enough to just trade onto the board and play Dr. Boom. Because you still can kill him next turn because you have 9 damage from Boom plus the Hellfire. That almost guarantees lethal.
Yeah. Stronger against sap because you're still up with the Boom bots. That can do some damage.
Yep.
You're probably not going to ever find another opportunity to be able to play Dr. Boom because you know your opponent's going to try and develop a big board next turn where you'll probably have to taunt.
Yep.
Ooh. Huh.
Okay, so he's going extremely defensive. Tap, Owl, and Sludge Belcher. And this is weak to a Sapped Blade Flurry, but he says maybe you don't have it, or maybe I don't want to bother waiting for it.
Potter's Shredder's a nice body, but he's not really piecing together much damage yet. Well, he has the damage. He doesn't have a way to get through and apply that damage to the face where it matters.
Yeah.
There it is.
All right, Blade Flurry. Now, what's key is that Zalae's at 13 health. A Deadly Poison Oil Blade Flurry combination is 12 damage. So Firebat still needs to find a way, piece together that last damage points, and it can come through a minion. It can come through the Azure Drake being a Blade Flurry, but either way, he needs to find some method in order to set up a Blade Flurry. And if he does, like say he coins out a hero power here, Zalae might drop the Ooze then to try to disrupt it.
Yeah. Because it forces your opponent to use 2 mana the following turn, which could, in order to re-dagger, could interrupt some of their plays. Yeah.
Actually, Firebat has lethal. Yeah, actually, no, he doesn't. He needs sap. I forgot. You have to attack that Sludge Belcher.
Well, I don't think he feels comfortable tapping here, in which case it's whether or not you play Giant or Dr. Boom.
Likely Boom, because the Boom, like the Blade Flurry might also have impact on whatever minions, like if he plays Drake. Pooh boy.
That's a lot of damage. It's not enough.
6, 10 damage.
I think this list probably only runs 1 sap.
Right.
It's pretty unlikely that we'd get to this much of the deck without seeing one. So, we've seen double Pallet Shredder, only 1 oil so far. Anti-Keelbot and Earthen Ring Farseer, usually like 1 more healing tech than normal if you run double sap, so. Well, he's going to start to build up a board, but oh, man.
Yeah, he needs to get through that some method way, and now Zalae like absolutely knows his opponent probably does not have a way to deal with big top minions. So I would interpret this as a Mountain Giant Sun Fury turn, and I don't know if how you actually trade down onto this.
You don't want to put too much faith in those boom bots.
No.
Because you want to clear the board, but you also want those boom bots to try and clear the board effectively. Because you could throw in 1 boom bot to the Earth Ring Farseer and have it snipe the Earth Ring Farseer, and then throw 1 into the Pilot Shredder and have it snipe the Pilot Shredder. Well,
All right.
that works.
Yeah, that was pretty effective. He can also guarantee kill off the cool Taskmaster by pushing the slime into it. Snipe with the boom bot. If it kills the Farseer, Zalae is in business.
Ooh.
All right. Well, he's gonna play Mountain Giant and taunt up anyways.
That's still a pretty good outcome for him.
Right.
Even if he has 1 sap, he's still got to get through 1 of these taunts in order to push it for lethal.
If there's backstab. Oh wait, this might be lethal.
I don't think so. Is it?
Because hold on. Deadly Poison prep. Wait. Yeah, because the oil damage, right? Yeah, he's going to attack into one of the things and then flurry? Actually, I'm not. I don't.
I don't think
know.
he can get through. Yeah, he can't. He messed up, or he misread it or something. There was no way that he could get through both of those without.
Ah, you're right. Uh-oh, Firebat's pretty pissed.
How could he have done that? If you put the oil on the.
He still needs to flurry here. He's gonna have to attack into Dr. Boom, flurry, and then attack. Here's the problem. Like, he actually needed to do it the other way. I think Firebat's not pissed because he missed, like, because of the lethal. I think he counted correctly. I think he's pissed because he can't attack with the Zalae now that he blade flurried first, and he needed to do it on his Farseer
Because he daggered that turn.
Right.
So there's no way that he could re-dagger.
Exactly.
Yeah. So there was, if he had.
Right, he could have put him at 2 and then prevented him from tapping.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, no, he put him at 1 if it landed onto the.
Yeah.
Actually, I think Firebat needed to go back to that turn, and he played a little bit too quickly here.
He is pretty upset with himself.
He is, because he's supposed to be like a rogue specialist, you know? Like, it's one of his decks that Firebat has put a lot of time into.
Well, we watch him exclaim and then quickly move away from his full screen camera.
If you're Zalae, do you Hellfire here? You're dead to. I guess he already used both Eviscerates. You're dead to just like oil if you Hellfire. That's like 1 oil. But then
he knows that he has to know that the coin is the only card left in his hand.
Right.
Well, he doesn't have to, but he should know.
He also hypothetically could just Hellfire and then just like wait, just play everything.
I've got the beast in my
But Firebat's pretty upset with how things went here. He needs sprint, or he just needs the oil. Drake is a good start. He's soaking lethal if he hits oil. Oh my god! And Firebat is redeemed by the coin.
Firebat's face, he's like, well, that didn't quite go as planned.
No, it was all calculated from the start.
Still managed to find the victory.
Yeah, he's the world champ, right?
Yeah.
That's what it is.
All right, well, he's going to tie the series up 1-1 now after losing the 100 meter in the first matchup. It looks a little bit more cheerful than we saw.
Well, I mean, it was a bit. The difference between 1-1 and 2-0 is worlds apart.
Yeah.
Being down 2-0 means you can't make a single mistake with the last remaining deck.
Yeah.
His last remaining deck, I believe, is Patron Warrior, and it is one of the decks you can 3-0 with it, but then you have to play your other opponents for Patron Warrior, and it kind of sucks. So, the troubling thing is that the Handlock did end up winning, which means the Handlock probably will have to beat the Patron Warrior because it's a really hard matchup.
Yeah.
But I do know that these Archon guys specifically don't feel that Patron is that bad against Handlock nowadays, because they do tech in a big game hunter, and they're more pressure oriented. So
yeah,
they do have ways to win, despite the fact that Handlock has access to a lot of interesting AoEs like Hellfire and Shadowflame.
If you get through the first wall, or if you can find a way to draw absurd amounts early on, you can draw into those big combos with Frothing Berserkers and go for one-turn kills with like a BGH execute and then just push through with the Frothing Berserker.
Right.
Players are starting to realize how to play against it. But at the same time, Handlocks are teching in cards like Acidic Swamp Ooze to make sure that they...
It wasn't useful, though.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not sure if Firebat knew that Zalae was putting in the Swamp Ooze, probably for Patron Warrior, but it coincidentally also worked well with Rogue, so maybe that's a 2-for-1 there. But against Rogue, like, Firebat was making sure, like, he doesn't weapon up if he doesn't need to. He's also removing. I'm really curious, actually, about going back to that board state, how Firebat could have done it better with that South Sea and the Farseer turn. I'm guessing the play was the South Sea. No, it's to oil. Actually, I have no idea.
He might have wished he had played the previous turn in a way that he could have re-daggered that turn.
Actually, I think it's the oil first before the South Sea came out. South Sea attacked the Giant, attack into Dr. Boom, Blade Flurry, and then attack. So that was the right order. He would have put him at 1, and then he would have daggered him down for the win.
Yeah.
And he can't play. And he can't play Hellfire.
7 + 6.
Yeah.
No, that would have been lethal. He's at 13 health.
No, he had 6 from the blade and 6 from the Farseer. He had 12 damage.
Oh, it was a Farseer. I thought it was a
Right.
Paladin Shredder. Okay.
No.
Gotcha, gotcha.
All right. Anyways, focusing on the game at hand, Zalae has queued up once again the Handlock, and Firebat starts off with the Hunter. Mortal Coil on the Leopard Gnome was excellent to start things off. Firebat doesn't have anything to do with hero powers, and that's exactly what Zalae likes to see. He says, no pressure, no knife juggler. Awesome. I get to take the board initiative here.
This is a good hand for Zalae. Well, a pretty good hand. He's got Molten Giants, which are
It's decent.
always going to be used in this matchup. Anti-Kill Bot, great. He had things to do early on to force less damage to go into his face.
Mhm.
So, and if he gets to do a spot where he can play Emperor Thorsan and not be under too much pressure, he's going to be sitting pretty.
That's right. He's got double Sludge Belcher in turns 5, followed by Anti-Kill Bot, and then Emperor Thorsan. So his turns 4 to 6 have almost been set in stone. Firebat does pick up Pilot Shredder, though. A little unfortunate that he picked up the Haunted Creeper just as he needed turn 2 drop a little bit too late. Zalae picks up Mountain Giant on curve.
I think you just, I don't know. So if you play Mountain Giant and he plays Freezing Trap, you're in trouble. If you coin out the Sludge Belcher and he plays Freezing Trap, you can just sit on the Belcher,
Right.
and it's still going to block damage.
Yeah, that's true. But if he silences and pushes past,
Yeah, then you'd rather have Mountain
then you'd
Giant in
rather
that
have
situation.
Mountain Giant.
It's like putting him on one or the other. If you do play Mountain Giant this turn, you have more power if he has nothing. And you also set up an opportunity where you can, if you're able to have a great board state next turn, you open up coin Emperor Thorsan with all of this fantastic value that you're going to be able to receive in this hand with double Sludge Belcher,
Right.
Anti-Kill Bot being reduced in cost.
I think I'd be more inclined to drop the Mountain Giant. They're more. The Hunter is more likely to toss away a Freezing Trap, right? Oh, he goes for the Iron Beak and the Dark Bomb clear.
Didn't even consider that. It's actually a pretty good play.
Yeah, great play.
Yeah. It's a nice spot. Wow.
It's a great play because it challenges whatever comes down on board. Firebat doesn't want to just drop Wolf Rider again and lose it for free, but he might just do it for the 5 damage because it's great. He also has another Unleash the Hounds, or he has Unleash the Hounds, which means he has another Charger to use the Abusive Sergeant buff on.
Yeah.
I wonder if Firebat's going to attack this Iron Beak Owl with the weapon. So he can double dip with Wolf Rider. It's not as easy as a call as you might think.
Yeah.
Oftentimes you want to go face, but you can preserve damage here and get like another effective weapon hit with Wolf Rider twice. If he Hellfires, he's doing damage to himself too.
Yeah, it's a little weaker to Mortal Coil, but either way, you're still
already
getting that
used one.
damage in.
Use a Mortal Coil and a Dark Bomb.
Yeah.
To have the second one is highly unlikely. Oh my gosh, that's so big. Although he doesn't need to now. He can still kill command past this.
Yeah, he can use Kill Command and Abusive Sergeant.
Wolf Rider, hero power.
Yeah.
Is there an alternative?
Yeah, holding on to that Owl might be, well, I don't know. It's whether or not you want the Owl to push through something later, or you want the Kill Command for burn later.
Kill command for burn is usually pretty important. But the problem with using Owl now is that he will use the Sludge Belcher to trade the Wolf Rider. It's like, do you want your Wolf Rider to attack 3 times? Because you do make up the damage from Kill Command by missing it. But if you use the Owl here, then you lose the Wolf Rider. You lose a little bit of your pressure after this turn's over. Not to mention he can clear the board with the Hellfire. But I guess you'd be okay because you have Kill Command. Also, your curve is a little bit smoother.
Yeah. All right. Well, he's starting to pile on the damage here. Puts him at 13 health.
Yikes.
So he does have burn in his hand, but it's not that much yet. There is still opportunities for Zalae to be able to stabilize.
I think this is a Hellfire Molten Giant turn. Your opponent has, well, he has 3 cards. How much can you do 10 damage with 3 cards if he has?
And 7 mana.
He has 7 mana. He has 2 quick shots and a Huffer. Yeah, that's pretty unlikely. I think you can Hellfire Molten here. That's really greedy. Like, obviously we know.
Yeah.
You can get away with it.
Well, there's not many 3-card combinations that kill you.
Right.
There's like Animal Companion, Roll Huffer, Arcane Golem, Hero Power, or no, you wouldn't be able to do that because that's 8 mana. For 7 mana, the mana, it's not the cards that's the limiting factor. It seems like the mana is the limiting factor.
Ooh, not a bad draw either. Now I can Unleash the Hounds, Glaive Zuka, and hero power. That's the key here.
Yeah.
As much as it's cool that Handlock put Molten Giant out, Molten Giant won't end the game next turn.
Anti-heal bot will allow him to survive a little bit longer. What's he going to put him at? 3.
Jeez.
He's thinking of whether or not he wants to trade in here.
Yeah, it's fine because you want the beast to survive as long as possible.
Yeah.
Like, you want to make him feel like he has to choose. Ooh.
Ooze heal bot?
Yeah, Ooze heal bots for sure. You want to make him feel like he has to choose between whether or not he's going to keep a beast on board or you attack the base.
Oh, man. You can. I don't think you can get greedy here and leave this hound up.
But if you attack the face, you have 14 damage on board next turn.
You don't even set up for lethal.
Yeah, that's true. You put him to 15.
Yeah.
But you have 1 damage. There's like, you can draw 1 damage, can't you?
Defender Vargas.
Dark Bomb, Hellfire number 2.
Doesn't know if he'll have the luxury of being able to use
He can
Hellfire,
coin
though.
Jiraxxus next turn if he draws it.
Yep.
Wow.
There's okay, 2 cards with a hound on board here at 11 health.
Oh, man.
Double kill command kills him.
No, man. He's 2 damage off lethal.
Oh no.
Only if Arcane Golem was a beast. I mean, it is a beast, but
Not in that
not
sense.
in the tribal sense.
Mm. Yeah. I think you can just do it now because
Yeah,
next turn you
denies
wouldn't
a
be able to Lotheb, yeah.
But then, what if his opponent has Jiraxxus?
Yeah, but you're all in at this point.
Yeah,
if he has
you're
Jiraxxus,
super
he has
all in.
Jiraxxus.
Well, what I love about it is it denies a tap. It denies a tap for a lethal, potentially, too. And that was the winning play, actually,
Yeah,
because you
he's
never
dead.
know if Zalae was able to tap into a Antique Heal bot.
Actually, no. He's
I'm saying, like, you don't know if
Yeah.
he was able to. Is there a way for him to draw with his Mortal Coil?
no. That's what I was looking at. I don't think so. There's no way he can get one of his creatures down to. Oh! See what he would have gotten? You see the card before you die.
That's definitely the way to go.
Yeah.
Shadow Flame is not it. So Zalae drops here. The Hunter pressure is just too much. Well played from both ends. But that was a very one-sided game. Given the fact that Firebat was pressuring for the win, I don't feel like Zalae made many missteps, or any missteps, rather.
Mhm.
I think the Owl Dark Bomb was actually the correct play because of how it dealt with the damage. But, you know, in the end, Firebat drawing that Owl on the Sludge Belcher was so huge. Because Zalae had a good hand to deal with Hunter, generally speaking. He had 2 Sludge Belchers, a Heal Bot, and a Molten Giant, as well as some early game removal, but he still was not able to stabilize. And it just goes to show you that if you're not careful, you know, you end up just dying. And good thing that he also removed that Beast, because
He would have been dead that
it would have
turn.
been dead that turn.
Yeah. It's hard to make that call, but in the end, putting the 8 damage into the 1/1 beast sometimes is a necessity. But Zalae is down 2-1. The winner of this match, of course, will move on to the WCA Finals in China. And actually, you have a chance to participate in that as well. You can head over to WCA-America.com. And on that page, you'll find info about the open tournament
That's right.
that I believe will either will lead into PAX, and then from PAX, there's going to be players qualifying through to the finals that happens in China at the end of the year to compete for over $200,000 in total prize pool, $112,000 to the first placer. So if you guys want to participate, think you got what it takes, then head on over to that site and sign on up.
Sure. All right. Looks like we're going into game number 4 here. Firebat's up 2-1. And what a reversal of fortunes again. He was on the verge of going down 0-2.
Yeah.
And now he's going to be able to play his Patron Warrior. Now, the Patron Warrior most likely will get shut down by Handlock. And then we'll go into a Patron Warrior Mirror, which is what's to be expected based off the way these guys are trying to corner each other. Don't forget about that ooze, though. That ooze might be huge.
Yeah. A lot of times, the Death Spite setup is such a huge deal for Patron Warrior. where you have Despite, and next turn you're waiting for something, even something as, I want to say something as small, but as less significant than killing you, like a big Battle Rage play. It just stops that in its tracks. So sometimes being able to remove the Despite before they set up for a big combo turn can completely stop the momentum of the Patron Warrior.
Well, it's a combo deck, so it's very dependent on draw.
Yeah.
So stopping the Despite for the Battle Rage is...
Or Acolyte.
I mean, Grim Patron, to be honest, is not that great in this matchup. It's just susceptible to too many things. Shadow Flame, Hellfire. A big taunt minion also stops Grim Patron. Yeah. So you're not usually using Deathbite Whirlwind effects to clone patrons and start charging more damage. Only if it gets to the point where you need to use it to win the game or set up to win the game.
The main win condition here is the Frothing Berserker.
That's right.
So the goal here for the Patron Warrior player is to be able to draw as much as humanly possible in the early game. I mean, that's the case for most Grim Patron Warrior games, except if it's going up against like aggro, where sometimes it wants to stop damage and draw at the same time. But you have to draw into your absurd combos in order to win this matchup a lot of times. It's you talked about earlier. It's been made better by throwing in a BGH. Allows you to push through later on in the game with those combos. But this matchup, it's tough. It can be unreliable. No Uzi yet, but you still got a lot of opportunities.
Yep, that was a good draw by Zalae to get the Mortal Coil on the Loot Hoarder. Firebat, of course, taking this sweet time. No need to try and rush it. He knows his opponent wants to play a 4-drop this turn, so if he Dark Bombs, he gives up that opportunity. Now, Firebat can draw a couple of cards here. Have to imagine he wants to Inner Rage first, and then attack into the Drake, and then execute it. Although, you can play the Armor Smith first, gain some armor. How much armor do you want to gain, though? 'Cause if you get Battle Rage, do you not want to...
yeah,
do you not want to lose a little bit of health?
You want to try and take damage before you armor up. And people always talk about how you always want to armor up after you swing. And that was the case with the Control Warrior, just to make your mechanics that used armor stronger. But in Patron Warrior, it's actually even more important, despite not having shield slams. Just for the fact that you want to, early on this is, because you want to be able to have Battle Rage. Because like you said, if you build too much armor, a lot of times you're having to take damage, to try actively to take damage, just so you can get an extra card with Battle Rage.
Yeah, fair enough. Would you want to have saved the Whirlwind there or use an Inner Rage? I thought he was going to use Inner Rage originally, but he ended up departing with Whirlwind. And, you know, Whirlwind's one of those effects where you want to keep it with the Frothing to get as maximum damage. Or is that too greedy? Just, like, keep on the Whirlwind and assume that you can use it as part of the combo.
I think to a certain extent you have to be greedy with this matchup. So I would have liked to have seen Inner Rage. This allows him to keep his Acolyte. But in reality, he's probably only going to get one draw out of it anyway, or one more draw out of it anyway. But I see what he was trying to do. Hold on to that extra creature, maybe get some more damage in with it. Inner Rage represents more damage total outside of Frothing Berserker.
Thorson drawn on a curve. I think it's a sign.
I think it is.
He doesn't have a Hellfire, so it's not an easy clear with just attacking and Hellfiring.
And of course, what Emperor Thorson was made for, the turn 6 Emperor into turn 7 Ragnaros.
He is the John the Baptist. He paves the way. And Ragnaros is a really problematic card. Ooh. Second Whirlwind gives him a lot of cards and a lot of armor. But he doesn't draw his weapons.
Normally that'd be a fantastic Grim Patron turn, but Grim Patrons, as we talked about earlier, pretty much just make your board, which is already susceptible to Hellfire, even more so.
Bring the pain.
Wow, he's got a second. He's got a Deathbite here, but he can't play it. A little awkward here for Firebat. So he's still tacking in that armor because the armor is important to not get blown away by the pressure of Handlock.
Yeah. It'll buy you turns later on in the game. Well, that Emperor effectively gave Zalae, what is that, 5 innervates? 5.5? 5.5. No, 4.5. 4.5 innervates.
Yeah.
It's a free Mortar Coil.
Yeah, the Mortar Coil allows him just to cycle. But it's not like the most insane powerful card. You're making it sound like Soulfire got pushed down to 0 mana again.
My shield.
Another Emperor Thorson play here, or another Emperor Thorson turn is really significant. Not to mention that Firebat also just drew 2 cards, but both players are working with full hands.
Yeah.
But he has to find a way to get rid of Emperor Thorson and remove that giant.
He's got Warsong Commander. He has Inner Rages. So.
Oh yeah, he's got 2 Inner Rages, so
yeah.
he's got that cleared.
So he's going to be able to clean up this board. And actually, this isn't too bad. He'll be able to clear up the board and be left with a couple of Grim Patrons. That Mountain Giant's at, yeah, 5 health. But with 2 Death Bites, he needs to try and start setting things up. The play that I was looking at would be Warsong Commander, Coin, Grim Patron, and then a double Inner Rage to clear.
Coin Owl. I'm actually very interested by that play.
Yeah.
I guess he wants to save the combo of the
Grim Patrons. To try and push in for a win.
Yeah. He would have 10 damage, 16 damage, 18, 21 damage. So he's going to go for the Grim Patron win here.
So many possibilities.
Not a very likely scenario in most.
Right. If he's like, oh, well, I have Sludge Belcher again, or I, taunt up. But if his opponent, like, Zalae knows Patron Warrior too. He's like, okay, you don't have Thorson, so what's coming on turn 8? Possibly a Frothing and something else, like a, what's it called? Dread Corsair.
Okay.
And, like, those things can combo. This is pretty tough, though. I'd like to see, honestly, an Ancient Watcher as well. Just, like, full unload the board, and then just threaten to punish him. And then if Firebat doesn't have Brawl, where he can't even play Brawl.
Yeah. Yeah, normally flooding the board like this isn't the right thing to do, but since he played Low Depth, and both War Ones have been played, he knows that there's not really a threat for him to be able to utilize the extra creatures, which aren't really doing much, in order to make a bigger Frothing Berserker. He's already been through 1 Death Spite Death Rattle as well, so it's very unlikely that he would be able to combo anything. And this is sort of a desperation play, because there's not really a follow-up to this. It's trying to desperately draw into something that might open up opportunities for him next turn, but...
Yep. But that should be game.
Yeah, just the Dark Bomb.
Or you just play Ragnaros.
Yeah.
Ragnaros is fine, too. So that wraps up the game, and Firebat's Patron Warrior gets shut down, but that's almost, again, to be expected. Wow, Zalae going for the ultimate finish. Maximum overkill.
All right. Well, for the second time today, we are going to go to a game number 5. And it is going to be a mirror matchup.
Yeah, and I think it's to be expected. These guys are great and high level. And
they are great.
To be honest, people always said that when you're at similar levels, a lot of RNG has to do with it. And it's true. To a certain extent, that the draws do matter, and these guys are playing at a pretty high level to the point where it's not as consequential as outplaying. But just think about outthinking overall in the strategy, and how we've got to this point where they both play Grim Patron Warrior. Normally, you just kind of let Patron do his thing and win, but these guys decided to save Patron for last. And Zalae is probably the one coming in here with this slight edge because of how much he's played it compared to Firebat.
Yeah.
But it really comes down to a couple key principles. Who gets the board? Who can get more patrons out earlier? Who has the better removal for, the bigger threats? Say if you play Thorson and it gets 2 turns of being able to reduce mana. Those are all like the conditions which you can just win this mirror.
Yeah, some Patron Warriors have been taking in Brawl for the mirror matchup, but it's such an inconsistent card because sometimes it becomes unplayable if you're the one that has the advantage. But like you sort of mentioned, pretty much the first player to get out lots of Grim Patrons usually ends up winning because it's so hard for a Grim Patron Warrior to remove the shenanigans that a Grim Patron Warrior does. And yeah, you talked about Zalae. I mean, he has experience with some of the cards in this deck even before. He was playing Frothing Berserker and Control Warrior before Patrons even existed. So he's very familiar with the whole play style around Frothing Berserkers, and he probably has hundreds upon hundreds of wins with Patron Warrior over the past month or however long the deck has been a thing.
Oh, he's running a slam. That is interesting. A slam could be because he's interpreting like the need to get past a lot of taunters like Sludge Belcher, or if his opponent's playing Druid.
Yeah.
If he anticipates his opponent playing Druid like a Maz, slam helps sets up killing off those minions.
Yeah, like either slam Fire War X into a Sludge Belcher or slam Death Spite into a Druid of the Claw. Those plays sort of line up, and it makes it possible.
A lot of players might look at this and say, well, why don't you just coin out the Acolyte? It guarantees kill it off the loot holder and draw another card. But just because he didn't play a weapon doesn't mean he doesn't have it. So if you play the Acolyte and it gets destroyed by a Fiery War Axe, you're very far behind.
Yeah, Acolyte of Pain is one of the key cards in this matchup. I'd say Acolyte of Pain and Death Spite. Just because you need to get multiple draws out of each Acolyte of Pain. Because in mirror matchups especially, combo ones even more so especially, it's, I don't even know where I was going with that. More so,
furthermore so especially thereof.
Indubitably.
Indubitably.
In combo decks, like Patron Warrior, card draw is absurdly more so, especially.
Furthermore,
Important.
thereof within.
Yes.
That's right, I took a preposition class once upon a time.
I did not. Actually, I did. Just too long ago.
Interesting. So now he drops the Acolyte. It's because he wants to use the coin for Thorson, so he's like, okay, well, now I have enough cards where I think I'd rather just draw cards and have a strong Emperor Thorson turn. Firebat might just armor up pass here. Do you even want to armor up? Don't you want to start taking damage for your Battle Rage?
Especially since he already has it in his hand. A lot of times you wouldn't armor up even if you didn't have it for the possibility of you being able to. But at the same time, you also don't want to get into a situation where you get to the end of the game and your opponent has like 1 damage overkill. Right. And that 1 armor up that you missed earlier in the game would lose you. Executing the Acolyte of Pain is actually great because, again, like I said, such an important card. Reducing it to 1 draw is super important.
Yeah. Firebat will want to play this Grim Patron into Rage next turn, right? So he sets up for a bit of Thorson.
Yeah.
He knows his opponent's on coin. And he knows his opponent will want to remove this Grim Patron.
But it's going to be hard.
He can still slam this and just remove it.
Oh, yeah.
In fact, that might be just the play.
What can he play with it, though? He'll be left with 3 mana, 4 mana with the coin. He can, like, develop his second Death Spite. He can just play Armorsmith.
Armorsmith stinks. It doesn't really do anything. It's a liability.
Yeah, it stinks.
Yeah, as in, like, she's worn the same clothes since beta.
Yeah.
Armorsmith never actually changes.
She's in there sweating all day, smithing armor.
Oh, gross. Smithing armor.
Disgusting. And also, yeah, it's not a liability yet. Just because
as the game develops, it becomes an increasing liability
yeah,
because it won't die.
You can just bounce
Well, the thing about Armor Smith is that it's like interesting because it helps gain life, but at the same time it helps deal damage to your opponent or to yourself because of Grim Patron Brawling Berserker. So you could end up just playing the Armor Smith now, but I don't really like it that much. It just doesn't do anything. I think this Death Bite does more impact because it threatens whatever can come out.
Yeah. Except you know Emperor Thorson.
Right.
It threatens it, but you have to use a second card in order to remove it.
Yeah, he has the Whirlwind here.
Yeah. If he developed Armor Smith, he could have sacked the Armor Smith in, but there's not really any way you can predict. Well, yeah.
All right.
Yes. To be honest, actually, Armor Smith might have been better. Because that way, if a Sludge Belcher came down, or if Emperor Thorson came down, he could have Death Spied into it and Armor Smith.
Yeah, that's
But
true.
it's hard to make those predictions. Just looking at his hand and his perspective alone, it feels like the Death Bite is a better option.
With Whirlwinds and Belchers, I was half expecting an Execute with a Battle Rage play. You could play Armor Smith, Whirlwind, Execute, Battle Rage, but this also works too in terms of keeping your Thorson safe the next turn. And you know what? I'm always going to trust and defer to Zalae for Patron plays because he's played so much of it.
Yeah. It's such a tough deck to play, though, because none of the decisions are straightforward. Well, not many of the decisions are straightforward.
Not all of them.
Yeah. A lot of times it comes down to just trying to make like blind reads.
Yeah.
Which are subjective because I guess the experience really helps though, because the more experience you have with individual matchups, the more you can read your opponent's play style and be able to make smarter reads. But it still is such a tough deck to play.
There's a thing about what Firebat also is in a weird situation, is that he doesn't actually have a great hand that got reduced other than Brawling Berserker and Grim Patron.
Yeah.
And Zalae will be able to benefit off of this in a turn or so. He kills off this Acolyte, plays Emperor Thorson. And he's got a lot of cheap cards now that are pretty high impact. Battle Rage is great. Whirlwind for 0 is awesome.
Yeah.
Warsong Commander for 2. I'm liking Zalae's position a lot. Way ahead on board. Much better card combination quality.
Yikes. He can make a bunch of patrons here.
Yeah, that's his best shot.
Oh, actually, no, this is a pretty good turn. You can Battle Rage as well.
Ah, you're right.
Because it's reduced in cost.
So you can draw 4 cards.
Yeah.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah. I actually didn't think he'd be able to fit into Battle Rage because I had counted initially that it would cost 2, but it was reduced. So that actually ends up being a pretty big deal.
Right, but then Zalae gets to draw a bunch of cards, and he's going to keep a Thorson.
But how's he going to deal with all these patrons? If he can find a way to deal with them, then yeah, he's in a great spot, but he's just going to keep piling on, man.
Yeah, this is tough to say. Because Zalae now has a 3-card Battle Rage, 2 Executes.
Wow. He actually can deal with every single patron.
Yeah,
That's pretty nice. He can also start, he can also refill his hand with the Battle Rage, still maintain pretty good board position with the Emperor Thorson.
He draws 5 cards. Jeez. That was a really quick spot here from Zalae's end. That's like, again, that's one of these things where I'm telling you, this Emperor Thorson being able to draw was huge. If he keeps Warsong Commander as well, that'd also be excellent. And Firebat's out of Grim Patrons. That's another thing to consider.
Oh, yeah? It's true, he's used both. See that first one out pretty quickly, but it got stopped.
Yeah, and I think, well, the card quality in Zalae's hand's pretty poor.
And his board isn't that threatening.
Yeah.
Emperor Thorson, yeah, it's reducing the cards in his hand, but 3 of the cards that already cost 0. So, it's not the best.
Yeah,
so
he can,
yeah. He can clear off the Warsong Commando, which I think is the most threatening.
Right.
Emperor Thorson is pretty threatening as well. Uh-oh.
Well, now the Warsong Commander ends up surviving. That's bad news. If something huge came out, Fiery War X is not that helpful. Loot Hoarder wants to pick up Warsong Commander, Frothing Berserker. Frothing Berserker would end this game actually right now.
Battle Rage is pretty good.
Yeah, Battle Rage is a high chance to end the game again.
Can he use an Inner Rage? I think Inner Rage, in this situation, if he draws Frothing Berserker,
he wins.
Whirlwind is more damage. Because Whirlwind would give the Frothing Berserker 4 damage, Inner Rage would give it 3 damage. There it is.
And
4, 5, 6.
That should be it, right? There's 6 plus 5. That's 11 plus 2 is 13 plus an Inner Rage. That's 16 plus, yeah, plus a Fiery War Axe. That's 19 damage.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, I forgot about the Iron Beak Owl.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's also valuable, too.
Yeah.
And that's it. Yeah, looks like Zalae is going to China, guaranteed. Firebat will have to play along with Jockey and Pax, see if he can still go through to China, but it looks like today is Zalae's day.
Yeah, that's actually quite a bit of overkill as well.
Yeah.
Not too much, but with the owl there, he can pump out.
Right, forgot about the owl.
Yeah.
The owl adds another 4 damage, or 3 damage, I think. So he had him. Yeah, he had him by a pretty big margin here. Not to mention the armor gain. Jeez.
Yeah.
So that's it. Zalae ends up going through, and Firebat fought valiantly. Even looked like he was in a pretty good position, but his Patron Warrior ultimately falls. And that means the Archon member number 2 is Zalae.
Yeah. So he's going to be not only going to China, but also moving on to face Amaz in the Pro Qualifier final, which will happen. It's going to be the next matchup for a little bit extra money as well.
Yeah.
And as Zalae said in his interview, he loves money.
Well, I don't blame him. I think money is a huge motivator for being able to sustain yourself while playing Hearthstone. And this is what he wanted too, right? This is why he joined Archon. This is why he started competing more regularly and you know, quit Magic the Gathering Online. He's done this so that he can be able to start making Hearthstone tournament appearances and push himself to be the best competitor while earning some cash.
Alrighty, well, Dustin is on the stage, standing by with the winner of our last match, Zalae, so let's send it over to him.
Zalae, moving on, was there anything you did differently to prepare for fighting one of your teammates?
Yeah, preparing to beat a teammate's very different because normally I prepare with my teammates, and obviously I'm not going to prepare with Firebat when I'm trying to beat him, so I have to look elsewhere.
And do you have any reservations in facing your team captain going up next for the finals?
No, I love beating him. It's the best.
All right, so there you have it. Right back to you at the desk.
Not afraid of losing his job.
Yeah, then he'll just you know, win enough money that he can sustain himself. Although I'm sure it'd be one of those things where Amaz wouldn't be upset either if Zalae beat him, because you know, ultimately it's like, if Amaz wins, that kind of money goes back towards the team, and then he's paying Zalae's salary anyways. So this is the point where even though the prize money is great, it's just, you know, a big day for Archon in general to be able to get this win.
Yeah, we also like to give you guys another reminder that you can join Zalae and Amaz competing in the World Cyber Arena Championship in China at the end of the year. There's an open portion of the tournament. You can head over to WCA-America.com. There's information on that page about the open tournament and how you can compete. I believe you get seeded into packs if you do well on that, and then have a chance for money there. And then if you win that, go on to China. But we do have one more match for you guys today. It's going to be the finals of the Pro Qualifier final day between Amaz and Zalae. What do you think of that matchup, Dan, before we jump into that?
Oh, well, I think Zalae definitely has the upper hand, but every time I understand Amaz, he ends up impressing. So I don't know who to root for or who's going to win here. Just have to find out.
All right, team captain versus one of the new members. Zalae versus Amaz coming up after this. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.